Hello, this is a message from the family matriarch, Iven Wright. I am the family historian, and this is our family story. I thank all of the younger members of our family to permit me to talk about a subject that comes very easily to me, which is about our family. We salute all of our high achievers who acquired degrees in the educational fields as well as career-wise. We are all very proud of you, and I know will inspire our younger and future generations. Let me begin by saying I never knew my maternal or my paternal grandparents since I was born during my parents' later years, but I knew Martha Mattie Frazier Waites-Linnen, born May 27, 1883. My mother, your grandmother, your great-grandmother, and up to 7 generations of grands. She was an important part of the Frazier clan. Through the years, I've seen so many seek her assistance, and received it. She raised 2 additional children, Bertha and Sarah, when they became orphans. Their parents died of TB, which was running rampant during the Depression years. She was a virtuous woman, and I believe the measure of a virtuous woman is not so much what she gets from her ancestors, but what she leaves her descendants, and to live a life that's worth remembering. But first, she was a virtuous daughter. I say that because her mother, Panda Frazier, died when she was young, and she therefore, being the oldest, had to take over the role of running the household. Her father, Jimmy Frazier, was a country preacher. She raised her 3 siblings. Manzi, little is known of him, Henry, born December 25, 1893, and Anna, born February 10, 1898. My mom kept very good vital statistic records of our family in an old book which I have to this day. It's almost in pieces, but this is the book where she kept most of the records. That's where I get all my information from when it comes to dates. From her we all evolved. She became a virtuous wife twice. She married Mr. Elijah Waites. They had 4 children, Bessie Dora, born December 13, 1907. Then there was William, born September the 11th, 1909. James, born August 14, 1914. And Mamie Martha, born September 6, 1916. She became a widow. Then she married my father, Lawrence Linnen. And they had 3 children, Rebecca, Becky, born December 15, 1918, Benjamin, Ben, born September 6, 1921, and the baby in the clan, that was me, Ivan, born September 1st, 1925. These are the lines you all came from. We were all born in Charleston, South Carolina, except the eldest, Bessie, Sue as you called her. She was born in Savannah, Georgia. Why, I don't know. My father was an older man and proud of my mother, who, with little education, had a very lucrative business as a seamstress. You could show her a picture of a dress or whatever, or see it in a store window, and she could make a pattern and produce the outfit. Mother handled the funds like a pro, never borrowed, taught us to save 15 cents out of every dollar we earned. Very clean. During the Depression years, we were never hungry, never homeless, kept us well dressed, and we had to keep our school clothes, church clothes, and play clothes separate. My father worked at various jobs as an assistant plumber or helper, and in all fairness, I don't know what my father did as a younger man. I remember he was a very proud man. He'd set rules and expected them to be followed. Something like the family all eating together every evening at our big dining room table. Clean your plate, he'd say, and don't be wasteful. He was strict, but he was not mean. Mom was a God-fearing Christian woman. She loved and supported her family as well as others. She never turned anyone away. Many turned their backs on her after accepting her generosity, but she still had love for all. Her philosophy was, I'll get my reward in heaven. She taught us to love and respect others, which attests for the many family members of different cultures that have been welcomed into our family through the years. Cousins, in-laws, friends, such as Portuguese, West Indian, British, German, Australian, American Indian, Dominican Republican, African, Puerto Rican, Central American, and others I'm not aware of, most likely. Now, my mom's eldest son, Willie Waites, was killed by an older woman in Jacksonville, Florida. He left home after an agreement with my father. He was only 18 years of age. Conditions must have been very difficult and stressful. I suppose these were some of the reasons they had little love left for this place in Charleston, and it became the deciding factor for my parents and my sister Dora to join in the Great Migration heading north to Harlem, New York, and never looking back to the only home they ever knew. The plan was my mother was to travel to New York, stay temporarily with a cousin, Eloise Fraser Riley, until she got a job as a live-in maid and a seamstress. Then she sent money home, and my dad and Dora commenced to ship the family up north, 2 by 2, until the immediate to the distant family members took the excursion boat north, and this was during the difficult Depression years. We really should be on the Finding Our Roots PBS program with Professor Henry Gates. I've seen many changes in my 89 years. Now, I can remember we had ice boxes in my day. Now we have LG refrigerators with built-in TVs. We only had big Philco radios. Now we have 50-inch flat screen TVs. We used to sit on the fire escape. Now they sit on balconies and patios. We had party line phones. Now it's cell phones. We used to have Congo lines at parties. Now it's line dancing. We had Billy D. Williams. Now it's Denzel Washington. We had President Roosevelt. Now it's President Obama. I'm blessed to see it all. Remember, we are first and foremost all descendants of Martha Fraser Waites-Linnen. If you don't know your family's history, you don't know who you are. We are not a perfect family, but we are a family. So let go and let God. Depend on Jehovah God, not man, because man looks at the outside. God looks at the heart. Learn to forgive. And remember, the 3 most important words are thanks, please, and sorry. Your I will is more important than your IQ. In conclusion, laugh, live well, grow old gracefully, and love each other. And may our Lord Jesus Christ bless and keep you, and make his face shine upon you and give you peace. Lots of love, and thanks for listening.
What would you like this piece of documentary to translate to the family? What is the message that you would like?
Okay, the message is that they'll know the type of family that they came from, okay? We were always a family that pulled together. Of course, younger people, each generation is different. But back in those days, if you needed something, they would help you to get whatever. They would pull together. They would, like I said, family coming up from the South, they would try to help you get here. When you got here, they would give you a place to stay, even if the boys had to sleep in the kitchen. It's old-fashioned, but that's what they did. And you would live there until you could find a job and get out on your own. They always helped each other. And I find that today it isn't the same. Everybody's kind of looking out for themselves, you know. Yeah. They don't give as freely. I mean, I'm including myself, okay? But back in those days, they pulled together more. I've seen it through the years.
Okay.
What would you say your fondest memory of your childhood?
I often thought about that. And I would say, when I spoke about my father, we always had a big table, and we would all sit down and, first of all, my father would tell us at the table, at the dining room table, no one talk. He didn't want you to talk. He wanted you to eat your food. And after we finished eating, then we could talk. We could talk about different things. And being the youngest, I used to listen to them. I didn't do much talking because the others were older. They were good talkers too. You know? I was quiet at that time. But that I always remember that. I always remember having my parents and the children, except my older brother. My older brother didn't really like my father because he blamed my father for his brother's death. That was my mother's son, you know. It wasn't my father's son. So James, I don't know if you remember James. You've seen him when you were younger. He never really liked my father, so he would do what he wanted to do. You know, he wouldn't be there with us. But the rest of us, we were always together, always close together.
What are some of the things you remember about your dad?
About who?
Your dad.
My dad? I remember he was an older man. We really didn't have much in common. He was almost 60 years old when I was born. So he was a good father, but most of the time when I was home with him, the other children were in school. I can remember. I have all this in my memoirs, so that's why it's, you know, I remember. He would sit in a room in front of the window in the tenement where we used to live, and he would nod. And sometimes I would ask him, because I would sit in the room playing by myself, whatever. I can't remember. My mother probably went to the store, whatever. But he would nod, and I would ask him, I would say, "Papa, are you sleeping?" And he'd wake up and he'd say, "No, I'm just thinking." He'd always tell, "I'm just thinking," you know. But I knew he was sleeping. But I remember being with my dad and, you know, asking him, was he sleeping? It's one of the memories anyway.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
what would you say the biggest trait or personality quality you got from your mom? What part of you is your mom?
Oh, gee. Well, I try to remember. Of course, she had very old-fashioned ideas, okay? Things like, different from me. She would always say, when someone talked about they're having a hard time or they want to get a divorce, she would say, "You made your bed, now you sleep in it. You know, you stay in your bed." That was her. I don't believe in that myself, you know. That's the way she would think. But but I did learn a lot from her as far as trying to keep family close by. I always try to stay in touch with my family. I have a family newsletter that I send out maybe 2 or 3 times a year, whenever I can. I write the family newsletter to let everyone know, because we're so scattered now. As I said before, we always lived close together. In Harlem, everybody was just a block and a few blocks away from each other.
But now we're all over the country just about. So what I do, each family, I try to send a newsletter to let them know what the other families are doing. The family will call me if a child graduate from school or make even grade 8. I put it all in the newsletter. You know, let each one know what the other one's doing. So I try to keep them together that way.
That's nice.